appreciate it. I'm just gonna put my.
That's your. All right, everybody ready? Good deal. Well, listen, good afternoon. I'm Attorney Demario Solomon Simmons. I'm so excited to be here today with my co-counsel, my clients, as we are announcing a new federal lawsuit against the Muscogee Creek Nation, particularly Chief Hill and the Muscogee Creek Nation Citizenship Board. I have to my left my co-counsel Lauren from Squad Patton Boggs. You got Jeff Kennedy, plaintiff, co-plaintiff on the case, Rhonda Grayson, other co-plaintiff, other co-counsel John Nanot, and one of our greatest supporters, Attorney Brenda Golden, who is an attorney and a enrolled citizen of the Creek Nation. You know, 1 year ago today, we secured a historic victory within the Muscogee Creek Nation Supreme Court that specifically stated very clearly that Creeks of African descent are entitled to full citizenship rights within the Creek Nation. Now, how did we get to that point where we had a full victory in the Muscogee Creek Nation Supreme Court? And yet today, we're having to file a new case in the federal courts here in Oklahoma City, Western District. But first, we have to go all the way back to the Trail of Tears, back in the 1830s, when our ancestors were marched along the Trail of Tears from the southeast United States. That included Creeks of African descent at that time, those who were free and those who were enslaved. And once they got here in Oklahoma, what was called Indian Territory, many Creeks of African descent were still enslaved by the Creek Nation. And at the time of the Civil War, the Creek Nation, many aspects of it, sided with the Confederacy so they could keep enslaving and oppressing Creeks of African descent. But at the end of the Civil War, the United States came in and said there will be a new treaty, a treaty of 1866. And that treaty would stop enslavement within the Creek Nation and grant full citizenship rights for all Creeks of African descent. And so from 1866 to 1906, the Creek Nation lived as one nation. And then when the Dawes Commission came in, the Oklahoma statehood in 1907, the Dawes Commission created the Dawes Rolls. And on those rolls, they created a Creek by blood and a Creek Freedmen roll, where the United States discriminated against Creeks of African descent and put us on a separate segregated roll. And from 1906 to 1979, those Creeks of African descent were still full citizens of the Creek Nation. Until 1979, when the Creek Nation had a legal vote where they did not allow Creeks of African descent to participate and voted to take away our citizenship rights. And since that time, that is 47 years ago, Creeks of African descent have been fighting to get our citizenship, to get what our birthright. And we started this journey myself in 2004 inside the Creek Nation court system. We litigated there for 3.5 years. And then after that case was over and we lost at the Supreme Court level in 2007, 2008, we waited to see what was going to happen with the Cherokee Freedmen as they were litigating a similar issue in the DC Federal District Court. We waited all the way until 2017 when the DC District Court said that the Treaty of 1866 for the Cherokee Nation guaranteed citizenship for Black Cherokees, also known as Cherokee Freedmen. We took that victory and we were hoping at that time the Creek Nation would do the right thing. We waited a whole year trying to work with the Creek Nation and they ignored us. So we filed a lawsuit in 2018 in the federal district courts in DC. In 2019, our judge dismissed that lawsuit and said we had to go back through the Creek system. We had to exhaust our tribal remedies. We were frustrated by that, but we believed in the rule of law and we followed the judge's order. And we went back to the Creek Nation we reapplied Rhonda and Jeff, was denied, appealed that denial administratively, was denied, and then filed our lawsuit in March of 2020. And then we had a trial in the district courts of the Creek Nation in April of 2023. And in September of 2023, we won that case. And our district judge, Judge Mauser, stated that the Treaty of 1866 required Creeks of African descent to have full citizenship rights. We thought it was over. But Chief David Hill said no. He decided to stand in the way of Creeks of African descent citizenship and filed an appeal. And then in 2024, Chief David Hill tried to stack the courts of the Muscogee Creek Nation Supreme Court to make sure that we would lose. And we had to fight that, and we successfully won that battle. And then in 2025, 1 year ago today, the Muscogee Creek Nation Supreme Court, 5-0, stated that the Treaty of 1866 is the supreme law of the land, both within the United States federal system and within the Muscogee system. And there is no difference between the Creeks of African descent of Creek Freedmen and any other Creek. We thought it was over then. We were excited for people to get their cards. We're talking about 100,000 Black Creeks across this country. But again, Chief Hill decided to stand in the doorway like Governor George Wallace when he stood in the doorway at the University of Alabama being integrated. And with Governor Judge Wallace with the mantra of segregation today, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever, Chief Hill issued an illegal executive order that said he would not allow any cards to be issued, citizenship cards, to Rhonda, to Jeff, or any other Creek of African descent. And we tried to work within the Creek system this whole entire year. We filed 3 additional motions, and they've been denied. And the Creek Nation Supreme Court told us in their last order, there's nothing else they can do for us. They're closing our case, and they're asking that Chief Hill do the right thing. Well, he has not done the right thing. So that's why today we are here announcing our lawsuit in the Federal District Court, the Western District here in Oklahoma City. And before I want you to hear from my clients and our amazing team, I just want to let you know that this issue is both ancestral and personal for me. It's ancestral because my 4-time great-grandfather, Cal Tom, was one of those individuals that survived the Trail of Tears. He's one of those individuals that survived through the Civil War. He became a chief and was one of 5 individuals that negotiated and signed the Treaty of 1866. It's also personal because when we filed our lawsuit in 2018, my grandmother, Johnny Mae Austin, was one of the lead plaintiffs. She was a woman that spoke Creek, that grew up on our Creek allotment, and only wanted to see herself be back a citizen as she was when she was born. Unfortunately, she's passed away. And she's not been able to get the justice, just like so many other Creeks of African descent. And I made a promise to her that we will not give this fight up until we get our birthright and get back to citizenship that is entitled to us pursuant to the treaty. So it's just an honor to stand here with these wonderful, powerful people that are fighting on behalf of so many others. People who are not being paid, like Rhonda and Jeff, they're not being paid for this fight. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do. Our pro bono counsel has come all the way here from Washington, D.C. to stand with us. It's a momentous day, and I look forward to this litigation. Rhonda.
Good afternoon. I am Rhonda Grayson, President of the Muscogee Creek Indian Freedmen Band and Director of the Museum of Black Creek Freedmen History. Today marks an important step in our ongoing pursuit of justice for Creek Freedmen descendants. As a named plaintiff in the federal lawsuit filed in the Western District of Oklahoma. I am asking the federal court to require the Muskogee Creek Nation Citizenship Board to comply with their own Supreme Court ruling and to recognize the citizenship guaranteed to freedmen under the 1866 treaty. A year ago today, the Muskogee Creek Nation Supreme Court unanimously ruled in our favor and upheld the district court's 2023 decision. Judge Danette Miser instructed the Citizenship Board to apply the Treaty of 1866 to our citizenship applications, stating clearly that the treaty is either intact in its entirety or not at all. Essentially, you cannot cherry pick the treaty. Application stating, despite the clear orders, the Citizenship Board did not comply. The board appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court affirmed that the removal of Creek Freedmen and their descendants was unlawful and void ab initio, void from the very beginning. The court made it unmistakably clear that the disenfranchisement of freedmen had no legal foundation and could not stand. It is deeply troubling that on this one-year anniversary of this historic ruling, we are still fighting for compliance with the very decision that affirmed our citizenship. Every day of non-compliance is another day that Black Creek Freedmen are denied our birthright and our very identity as citizens, a denial the Supreme Court has already declared unlawful. This case is not only about my application or Jeff's application, it is about honoring the law, respecting the court's decision, and ensuring that the promises made to our ancestors are finally upheld. The fight is bigger than any one of us. It belongs to every Black Creek Freedman descendant who has carried this history, protected these stories, and refused to let our identity be dismissed or diminished. We remain committed, steadfast, and hopeful that the federal court will affirm what history, the Muskogee Creek Nation's highest court, and the Treaty of 1866, the supreme law of the land, already made clear. Creek Freedmen belong, Black Creeks belong. We are citizens of the Muskogee Nation.
Next, you'll hear from our co-counsel, Laura Brigham, out of Square Patton Boggs. She literally just flew in from Washington, D.C. To be with us, and we're so excited to have her here. Square Patton Boggs has been a part of our team for the last 4 years, and we could not be here without them. Laura.
Thank you, Demario. And I don't want to take away from the powerful remarks that Demario just gave and that Rhonda just gave. It is truly a privilege and an honor to represent Rhonda and Jeff in this lawsuit. And we couldn't have done it without this amazing team behind us who have been working on this for years before Squire got involved. But we're very committed to this case. And frankly, it's unfortunate that we have to be here today because it's 1 year since the clear ruling from the Supreme Court validating the district court's ruling that our clients are citizens of the Creek tribe. And so all we are asking for today is that the court give these clients, these individuals, what they are entitled to. And that is their citizenship card, so that they can enjoy the rights of citizenship to which they are entitled, including the right to vote. So while I'm pleased to be here and I support this lawsuit and we are thrilled to support these clients, it's unfortunate that we waited a year for this court ruling to go into effect. And we hope that this litigation can be resolved quickly and in our client's favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Next, I'm going to have you hear from the other co-plaintiff, Jeff Kennedy. Before you come, I also want to say, echoing what Lauren said, we have a magnificent team. Everyone can be here. I want to give a shout out to Beveridge and Diamond Law Firm, Ben Wilson, Graham Zorn, Nessa of Beveridge and Diamond, our partners at the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights, our partners at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. I see Marilyn Van, a friend of ours and a pioneer in this work, has just came here. We thank you, Marilyn, for everything you've done. So we're just excited to know that we have such a powerful coalition of folks who are standing with us. Jeff?
Yes, my name is Jeff Kennedy. Yeah. And I just wanted to give a hand clap to our team. We have a phenomenal team. But just from a personal standpoint, I just kind of wanted to let everybody know that this has been our Trail of Tears. Well, we call it the modern day Trail of Tears. And a couple years ago, I announced that we had lost about 14 people. And one of the latest is my first cousin, which just turned 90, and celebrated with us on this historic win. And to that, I just kind of wanted to have a minute of silence for those guys that, along with other Creek Freedmen, about 8 within the last couple of years, that has passed on. If you would, just with me. Thank you. So for the most part, from a humanistic standpoint, just for my cousins and relatives being in on this fight, they're from the first family we call. Their mother was born in 1904. My dad was the baby. He was born in 1925. So while he was growing up, we never knew whether he was brother or cousin or what. But the beauty of this is that once he found out that we were in on this fight, and he was telling the oral history about us being Creek, and of course speaking Creek and all the things that is Creek, and I always said that we have always been Creek. Basically, he told us that if I'm not here, which he thought that he wouldn't be able to see this historic win. He said it's not going to happen. And of course, when it happened like on his 92nd birthday. So we've had at least a couple of years, and to a degree, a whole full year of celebrating. And all he was saying is that basically my grandkids are coming in, my great grandkids are already here, and I had already promised that this was going to happen in his lifetime, which it did. But we still understand that the fight still continues, or should I say, the saga continues. We've already won it. We've done all the things that we needed to do. We just want it to happen. And as I said a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, we just want to go home. Stop us from coming home. That's what I got.
Thank you, Jeff. And we have another attorney here with us, Brenda Golden, who is an enrolled citizen of the Creek Nation and tremendous supporter. And she jumped at the opportunity to stand here because we want people to know we have a lot of supporters within the Creek Nation like Brenda. And we are supporters of the Creek Nation. We're supporters of tribal sovereignty. In fact, we believe what we're doing is protecting tribal sovereignty because we're saying that the Treaty of 1866 is special and it needs to be adhered to for the tribe's benefit. And what Chief Hill and others are doing actually puts the entire Treaty of 1866 and really the entire tribal law apparatus in the nation in jeopardy by refusing to adhere to a particular provision because they don't like it. And so we're just excited to have you here, Attorney Golden, and love to hear from you.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I would like to go back to how this happened in the first place. The Treaty of 1866 guaranteed citizenship to the Creek Freedmen. They were also allotted lands, as we know, from the Curtis Act. They were specifically given the same allotments that Creek citizens were given. In 1979, a group of Muskogee Creek citizens got together and drafted a constitution. And in that constitution, they stated that only people that were by blood Creeks could be enrolled as citizens. That constitution was put to a vote of the people. Now imagine, all of your life, you've been growing up knowing that you were Creek, you were a citizen, you were on the rolls, you were a brother and sister to all the other Creeks in this reservation. And then one day you wake up and it's stripped away. It's gone. You're no longer a citizen of the Creek Nation. That's what happened in 1979. And unbeknownst to a lot of us that were younger at that time, those people that were kicked off the rolls, you know, that it's not a matter of the benefits they're received, that they supposedly were received. It's the unjustness of how it happened, the unfairness that how would you feel if you woke up tomorrow and weren't a citizen of the United States anymore? Just last week, our nation celebrated the McGirt decision. The McGirt decision that said the Treaty of 1866 was establishing the reservation of the Muskogee Creek Nation, and that reservation has not been de-established. We celebrated a treaty last week, and yet still won't recognize our brothers and sisters that walked on the Trail of Tears with us. And so this matter has divided our nation. We have so many citizens that want to argue that by blood is the only way that we should be counted as citizens. But I tell you, we all bleed the same color red. Thank you.
I think it's important too on the by blood issue to understand that number one, the courts made it very clear, the treaty doesn't say anything about blood. It's number one. Number two, we know that during the Dawes Commission, they put many people who were quote unquote by blood on the Freedmen roll for various reasons. That's very well understood historical fact. But I really love the fact Attorney Golden talked about the McGirt decision. How can you support McGirt and not support this issue? Because it's the exact same treaty, the Treaty of 1866. So just a little bit quickly, I'll take a few, just maybe one or two questions. I just want to talk about the lawsuit. We are filing here in the Western District, here in Oklahoma City. This is where Rhonda and Jeff reside here in Oklahoma City. We also know that the Creek Nation has an office here and they do citizenship. This is a technical lawsuit. It's called Ex parte Young. You can look that up. Meaning we get an opportunity to file in an official capacity for Chief Hill and the others on the citizenship board to force them to do what the court has already stated. And we're in federal court because the federal treaty, for those who don't know, a federal treaty is a supreme law of the land only subordinate to the United States Constitution. And so we're simply asking for the court to enforce the order that the Muskogee Creek Nation Supreme Court has already given us a year ago. We're not asking for anything special. We're not asking to create any new rights for us. We just want the rights that were guaranteed by our ancestors in 1866. Last thing, this is an issue, as you heard Jeff talk about. People have been waiting their entire life to get this resolved. People literally, this is a paper genocide where people they were Creek, and then one day a piece of paper says you're no longer Creek. We cannot stand for that. We cannot stand for the rule of law to be ignored, as Chief Hill is doing. And with that, I'll open up for just one or two questions.
So it seems like
Could you say what outlet?
Tulsa work.
Okay.
It seems like that the tribe has said that it takes time to get all their commissions and all their background paperwork updated to acknowledge the court's ruling. Do you reject that they've made any effort at all to advance the court's ruling and acknowledge the citizenship?
Well, number one, this treaty and the court ruling is very clear. There is nothing new that needs to happen. We are citizens. They already have an established citizenship process. Rhonda and Jeff has already gone through it, so it's a couple thousand other Creek Freedmen. And so the treaty says we are to be treated with equality under law as any other Creek citizen. So whatever you do for any other Creek citizen is what should happen for a Creek Freedman or Creek of African descent. Anything else is treating us differently than other people. So that's number one. There's nothing else that needs to be done. Number two, it's very clear that nothing has actually been done. So we reject the fact that anything has to be done. But they haven't done anything over the last year, but delay and refuse to implement a clear order. The court simply said, the Cherokee Nation did this. Of course, Ms. Band is here. She can tell you better than I can. They struck the by blood provision, and that's all you have to do. That's it. So nothing else has to be done. So now you're treating these black Creeks differently than other Creeks, and that's discrimination. And that's exactly what Article 2 of the treaty was put in place for, to stop that. And for those who don't maybe understand, Article 2 of the Treaty of 1866 is the same as the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment of the United States Constitution. It's the exact same principles. It's just that the Creek Nation was not a part of the United States, so you had to do it by treaty and not by constitutional law. Thank you for your question. So, yes, sir.
Samson Tamajoni, KJH2 News, Oklahoma and Tulsa. Has it been a delay or a straight up opposition from, say, Principal Chief Hill? What dialogue, if any, have you gotten from him really in the last year that led to a decision to file a federal lawsuit?
We haven't gotten any dialogue from Chief Hill. We have reached out to him on numerous occasions, through email, through letter, through his attorneys. He's refused to meet with us. We've had, even behind the scenes, trying to get people, other chiefs of other nations who are supportive of this issue, other politicians here in the state of Oklahoma, people like Representative Ronald Stewart and others, and the chief has refused to meet with us, not just for the past year, but for the past 3 or 4 years. We have said to the chief repeatedly, we don't want this fight. We're one people. Let's come together and be a strong Greek nation like we were before 1979. He has rejected that. He has injected himself into this situation to stop the Citizenship Board from following a clear court order.
Can you provide the case number or even a link to the?
Yes, I can do that. I don't have it right off the top of my head, but we do. If you go to our website, which is justiceforblackcreeks.com, the case is actually up there now. So as soon as we get off, I get down from this podium, I can give you that case number. And for anyone that wants to read about the case, you can go to justiceforblackcreeks.com. You can see the complaint. You can also see the order from last year that we're basing this actually lawsuit on. And if you want to join with us on this issue, go to justiceforblackcreek.com, join with us, sign up with us, learn more about this issue. We're going to be asking for people to stand with us, stand with Rhonda and Jeff. This is a clear issue of injustice. This is a clear issue of discrimination. And it's a clear issue where the rule of law has been abandoned. And that's something we're seeing too often in this country. The rule of law is not being adhered to and not being respected. And that's the only thing that's keeping us together as a people. And we want to make sure we are honoring it. Thank you.
Okay.